Whatever that
That's an in-depth conversation. That's an in-depth question right there.
whatever that may be.
Don't worry about.
I've been declared the winner, 'cause I was blind, but now I see. Was lost but not forgotten, redeemed by the only begotten.
Yeah,
I can't hear anything.
I can't hear you.
Oh, this one doesn't have the guard on it.
Where's my music, Tyson? I can't hear you.
Don't scare Tyson.
How about you get the?
Oh, okay. What number? Does it matter?
Let's try.
Well, I have come, I'm just a man, a sinner saved by grace, a soldier in this battle.
Good afternoon. This is Men of Impact Radio here at Hope Studios. Again, we took a break for the holidays, so I missed everybody there. And this is the inaugural show with our co-host over here, Cody. So we haven't done this before, so bear with us. So we invited a friend here, so to help us out, get comfortable with it all. It is playoff weekend, so of course I sported my football. I had to sport the Cowboys, but I also I'm a Tom Brady fan. But I just wanted to show everybody that I do have the Cowboys. But I'm going to change hats right now, get it going a little bit differently, and then we're going to talk a little bit about where Men of Impact is from. Men of Impact is, well, I had it all written down, and this is kind of how it works for me. Wes is pretty familiar with how it works with me. So, this is not what I'm supposed to be reading. Okay, so sorry. Men of Impact is a radio show that started because my life was saved by going to a men's group. So I do suggest that everybody go to a men's group. All you men out there should be in a men's group. It's just something that you should do. If you haven't done it already, get out there and do it. We do have Men of Impact is, you can reach us at menofimpact@gmail.com, or you can reach us, and that's Impact with a K right here. Impact with a K, Men of Impact with a K. So, or you can reach us. You can go to our website and pick up all the podcasts from now on going forward. There is a link there to the podcasts. And we don't have a lot of content yet. I have a lot of content, but it's all stored somewhere else. We're going to get that off, get it on there, and we're just going to start new too because we have a co-host now, which we've never had before. But Men of Impact all started as a Saturday morning Bible study. It was 2 times a month at a church that I was attending, and as luck would have it, I'm attending that church again. Through this group, I met some incredible Men of Impact, and they taught me what it looked like to be a dad, a husband, a spiritual leader, and a lot more. When I opened up, I realized that you can't be on a deserted island if everybody knows where it is. We still have that Saturday morning Bible study, guys. It's every Saturday morning, 6:30 a.m. To 8 a.m. on Indian Truck Trail. Every Saturday morning, rain or shine. Sometimes when it's raining, we do meet here, but it's rain or shine. We're out there in 32-degree weather. I kid you not. And right now with COVID, we don't get to sit around a fire. So it gets cold, so bring a blanket. We also do Wednesday nights, which is, I guess it's the Men of Impact meeting, but yes and no.
A lot of the same men.
It's the same men. So Wednesday nights at South Hills Church from 6:30 to 8 p.m. But one of our new things here is we want to expand because we think that in order for this world to shape up or to get better, I mean, because let's be realistic, if everybody believed in God and loved God, this world would be a much different place.
Absolutely.
So my thinking is, and what we agree on as men, because it's biblical, is that if it's going to change, guys, we got to change it. It's got to be the men. So we encourage everybody to start your own Bible study wherever you're at. Doesn't have to be Saturday morning, doesn't have to be Wednesday night. But I encourage you to be part of a bigger thing, be part of Men of Impact, start your own Men of Impact chapter wherever you're at. I started with 2, me and one guy, meeting at 6:30 in the morning. Last night on Wednesday night, we had 16. Last Saturday, we had 14. We've had as many as 20, 25, I think, at one time. COVID kind of slowed us down. We had multiplied into 2 groups, a North and a South Corona. So that's what I'm saying. Start your own group. It doesn't take much. If you need coaching or you need encouraging, I got a bunch of guys that can help you out there. Don't worry about it because it's God's group. It ain't yours anyway. Right? So you just start it. You start studying the Bible. God will grow it the way he wants to, and God will get it where he needs it to be at that time. So today, though, we're going to talk to a friend of mine who has been part of the group now for, I don't know, it's got to be going on a year, but I just met him not too long ago. He's a fairly new Christian. He told me that earlier that he's been a Christian for 4 years. He was fairly unchurched. So we're gonna talk to him. We got some questions for him. He's a father. He's a businessman. He's a husband, which is what this whole thing is about. Men of Impact. Listen, fellas, you're going to make an impact somehow. Is it going to be negative? Is it going to be positive? And I wish I had I'm going to get it while he's talking, while he's introducing himself. So I'm going to introduce him. His name is Wes Weingarten. And Wes, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
No, thanks, Anthony. Wes Weingarten, married, 3 children. My wife, Heather. We've been married for 12 years, been together about 17, and 3 kids. My oldest is 13, Connor. My middle child, Charlotte, will be 10, the big double digits, as she would say, next week. And she lets us know that every day. And my youngest, Carter, who is 5. And so 3 children and a beautiful wife at home. Yeah.
And again, I wanted to give the mission statement for Men of Impact: building personal Christian character by encouraging men to have a positive impact on their family, friends, and neighborhoods, one community at a time. That's kind of our motto, guys. So when you take that out, again, www.menofimpact.com. So let's start out. Wes, like we said, we had discussed, you've only been a Christian, and that can be, you did attend Catholic church, yes?
I was going to Catholic service a couple times a year. It was the Christmas, the Easter services, big events maybe taking place at the church, but for the most part, not really churched growing up. But your parents were the ones that did take you there on those days. They took us there on those days. And but me and my wife over the years were really adamant about wanting to get into church, but really just not taking that step. We talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. We had friends talk to us about it, invite us to come. And it took, honestly, about a year of some of our friends constantly asking us, not in a, every time we see them, but just, why don't you guys come? And I don't know what it was for us, but one Saturday morning, or Sunday morning, we just woke up and we looked at each other and we said, we need to go. And it was probably the best decision both her and I have ever made. Not just for us, but for the family.
So it was 4 years ago. You said you've been together 17, and your oldest is 10.
13. My oldest is 13.
Oh, yeah. The daughter's 10.
Yep.
Yeah, you got 3 years before. That's ugly. Cody has no idea. His family's got 3 boys.
Yeah.
Yes. He's already made his decision. That's what he wants. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Good luck. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how you control that, but
Can't.
So don't worry. I know lots of guys that have girls. We'll be there for you, brother. So you had kids. So 13. You've been together 17. You've been married 12. Okay. So we're not even going to go into that. But there was 1 year there that you weren't married, which is it is what it is.
We did everything backwards. Yeah. I'll be the first one to tell you. We did it all backwards. And do I regret it? No, I don't regret it. It's done, right? But we did it all backwards. Yeah.
So where did you meet?
We met at work.
At work?
Yeah. I was...
Tell me you weren't her boss, bro.
I was not.
Okay.
I was not. we both met in the mortgage business. That's what I do. I'm a mortgage lender. And she worked for the same company, but just in another division, in a different suite. And we happened to cross paths day in, day out. And, we ended up going out for a happy hour one night with a bunch of people and ended up kind of just taking off from there. And it was, again, one of the best decisions I ever made. I always laugh about the story because, and I'm going to tell her, she's probably going to laugh that I'm telling this story, but we were all hanging out at a bar just getting ready, and a bunch of my friends who were there with me decided to go somewhere else. So we called a cab, and the cab came, and as soon as the cab got there, we all got up. We started walking to the cab. Everybody got in. It was a van. Everybody got in, and I just slid the door closed. They took off, and I stayed. And
So you knew.
I knew. I wanted to just get to know her more because it was just brief talk, but I wanted to stay and get to know her. And so it was just kind of a funny story. I just said, "Hey guys, have fun." And I just closed the door and walked back and talked to her. And that was the beginning right there. Nice. So,
and then you ended up marrying that girl.
Ended up marrying her. Yes. So,
and having children with her. And so now you've got a kid, right? And you're married, and the boy is. So, did you guys go to church? Did you two go to Catholic church?
No.
No,
we did not go to church. We weren't involved in church at all up until 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago. It was March of 2017.
So your oldest was?
He was 9.
9.
And that was actually for me and Heather, we were excited to go. Our children, especially my oldest son, Connor, it was tough for him. He, being separated from mom and dad at church, going into youth ministry, it was a challenge. But over time, if you do it repetitively, they start to meet new friends. They get used to it. And he ended up getting involved in tech. Yeah. And that was something that he enjoyed. So I think he just needed to find his niche at church that got him to want to come. And
Corey, you have a little bit of Cody. Why did I say it? Why am I saying that today?
I don't know.
It's been a couple times, but
gosh. So Cody, maybe you can speak on that a little bit. Because I don't know. I know that you've been in church since I've known you. But were you always in church? Did your parents always take you to church?
Yeah, I was raised up in church since at least I remember. So
you never had that. So you were always separated from your parents.
From in church, yeah. I mean. Like, I don't really remember, that whole thing because I was growing up into it. But I can definitely say it was worth it to be brought up in the church because, like he said, you meet new friends, which are good Christian friends, and you meet people that you want to be around that have the same morals and values as you. Being brought up in the church is very important, especially in your teenage years, because if you don't have that, then you can kind of tend to do everything the world tells you to do. So
it's a direction, right? Yeah. I think for me and Heather, we wanted it as a couple, as a married couple, but we also really, more importantly, wanted it for our children.
Yeah.
And I think that was, like he said, I think you're introducing your kids to introducing your kids to other kids that have the same values that are being brought up, how you want your kids to be brought up. And I think that's important because there's a lot of distractions along the way. And I'm on the very beginning of that.
Yes.
I'm on the very beginning of that.
You're what we would call still a baby Christian.
Right.
And honestly, 4 years is...
I mean, I am too still, so...
I thought about it, you're just a baby. Yeah. So I thought about it today this year is my 20th year as a Christian. I thought about that today.
Wow.
At least since I got baptized, right? And I was an atheist. I was an atheist when I got baptized. So tell me, maybe there's some, Kate, because there's some things about that have to change. I mean, because you can't not have Jesus in your heart and then have Jesus and be the same person. It's just not possible. Right? So tell me a little bit about how it changed your marriage, how it changed, maybe how you looked at your wife or how your wife looked at you, did the communication change, that kind of thing?
Communication is key. I as we were talking about earlier, I think that growing in a household with your wife, your 3 kids, there are going to be those moments in life where there's some tension. And I think that having Jesus in your life helps while you're going through those to kind of step back and think and ask for that help, ask for those right words to say without just unleashing, because nothing good comes out of that. Right. And I mean, I'm guilty of that to this day. I still do it.
Oh, we're still sinners, brother.
Yeah. It's just, I still do it. And I think it has taught us how to communicate better with each other. There's always more room for communication. As a man, I think I'm a horrible communicator. Horrible. I'll admit that. She's a much better communicator, but sometimes you're almost afraid of the communication. You're afraid of the outcome.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's also helped us with our children. And I think it's helped our children with their communication to us as well. I see more adjustments in obviously my two oldest. My 5-year-old, he's too young.
He's going to be like Cody.
Yeah, he's going to be like Cody. He's
not going to remember any of it.
He's not going to remember anything.
Just this is what I do.
Yeah.
And he is impacted by church. Let me tell you that. There are questions we ask at the dinner table, and everything is all what Jesus knows. I mean, and he makes us laugh. He always brings up Jesus. My daughter, very, very passionate about Jesus, the Bible. She loves it. She absolutely loves it. As a matter of fact, I brought this today because she bought me this Bible cover.
Joshua 1:9.
Yep, Joshua 1:9. So she brought this, and I've been reading it constantly over the week since I've got it, and I just keep ingraining it in I love it. I love it. It's be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Joshua 1:9. I love that for not only myself, but for men in general.
For men in general.
I mean, to be strong. We should all be strong. Be courageous is huge. Don't be afraid, because there's nothing out there that's really if you got Jesus behind you, there's nothing that's going to hurt you. And don't be discouraged. I mean, it's easy in life to get very discouraged, but that's when you take a step back and just kind of take a deep breath and reevaluate what you need to do to kind of get out of that situation. For the Lord your God will be with you.
Yeah.
And everybody out there, that doesn't mean you're never going to be discouraged because you have Jesus. That's not what that means.
No. Yeah.
What it means is when you're feeling discouraged, you have the strength of Jesus to fall back on you, because he who is within you is greater than he who is of the world.
Absolutely.
So, that's what I am. How did your attitude, or how did you specifically, because mine is a big, huge, I was on the other side of the spectrum from what Jesus tells me to do.
I think you have to buy in. You have to buy into it. You can't just partially do it. So we made a commitment, and we said, we can't just go this Sunday. Of course, the first time you go, it's how do we feel about it?
Yeah.
Do we have some connections there? And we fell in love the first time we went. And so we made it constantly. Every Sunday, we're going. We tried to create and cultivate as many relationships as possible between my wife and myself, the kids we were seeing grow with relationships. And I think you have to get involved in as many ways as you can. Whether that is outreach at the church, whether that's a men's group, a women's group, marriage groups, small groups in general, you've got to be connected in more ways than just one, and that being Sunday. So that's what we did. We just kind of dove right in. And we have our weekends where we don't make it. And it's a lot easier, I think, now with the current environment to catch it, because we can catch it on a podcast, or, it's a lot easier to catch it from home. But, it's been a big change for us. And I think there's so much more room to grow. Like you said, I've been doing 20 years. I always think of the analogy that one of our brothers says is it's like scratching the surface. We've barely scratched the surface, and I'm only 4 years in.
Yes.
So there is just so much to gain knowledge to. And I think that it's exciting. It's exciting. Mm-hmm. And so,
and you serve at the church. You've been in 4 years, and you're like deep in service.
Yeah. I mean, like COVID has kind of derailed a little bit of that. And I think that's explained, but was asked to kind of help with small groups at the church. And so I kind of dove into that and helped out with some of the pastors helping grow some of the groups. And I think, my story with the men's group is kind of interesting, because the first event we had at church where we were bringing in on Wednesday nights, we were planning on going to a marriage group. And, why not? I mean, every marriage can use some growth and some help, and being around other couples that have been married much longer than us have that experience. So we went into that. And that day, my wife had gotten a call from one of her girlfriends to attend the mom's group. And my wife said, yeah, because I don't think she felt like she would go by herself if she didn't go with her. So she says, I'm going to go to the mom's group with her. I said, okay. She's like, I think you should go to the men's group. And immediately, like, the anxiety of going to a men's group and not knowing what to expect just set in. And I was nervous. I don't know why, but I just had that feeling of, what is this going to be? And I'll tell you, the minute I walked up to those tables to meet everybody, it was life-changing from that point on. Everybody just, it was a warm introduction into a group of awesome brothers that have been there for me. I can be there for them. And it's been going on, I would say, a year and a half, 2 years. Best decision I ever made. And I was pushed into it by my wife.
A lot of them are.
Yeah. But it really, it's changed tremendously. I mean, getting together on Wednesdays, getting together on Sundays. And I think for me, like I said, it's more than just that Sunday service. It's the Wednesday nights. It's the Saturday. It's the fellowship, getting to know men, and on a different level than most men get to know each other. A lot of times it's just the bros, and that's a totally different experience.
It is.
It's a much more intimate relationship, in all honesty. That's how I put it.
Yeah, it's that's kind of what some of the walls we're trying to break down in the group on this radio show, right? Is that men can actually have conversations, deep conversations, share their feelings. I mean, how many times do we tell each other we love each other with these groups?
All the time.
It's all the time. Yeah. And I'm that guy. I mean, 20 years ago, you wouldn't have caught me dead telling a guy I loved him.
Yeah.
The challenge, and I think the challenge for most men's groups and getting more men to come, is that you have to get them there to experience it.
Yeah.
They have to physically come and feel the love, feel the connection, the fellowship between men, and not just hear about it. Because I think because if you had told me that, it wouldn't have necessarily connected. And I think I had to physically go to experience that.
And you learn something every
time,
Saturday, every Wednesday. Yeah. And a lot of times you have that, I shouldn't have said that. Or, oh my gosh, maybe I should.
But you can't be afraid to say it. That's the thing, is that we're a group of men that should be able to open up with each other.
I mean in other parts of our lives.
Oh, another part, yeah.
Like to our wives, or to our kids, and yet they're still men. Because I remember, my idea of Christian men when I was a younger atheist, was, they're boring. They don't do nothing fun. Because I thought fun was, getting drunk, getting high, having sexual relations with every woman I could get my hands on. And so when you think about that, when you're that person and you think about what a Christian does or does not do, it was just, I wanted no part of it.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting together with your brothers and having a drink here and there.
Yes. That's not what I did. That's not at all what I did. Okay.
But I think you're right. I think the perception may be they don't do anything.
They don't do anything.
And that's completely opposite. Opposite.
And I'm going to give a shout out right now to our buddy Chip, who makes sure that we have fun.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
He is king of getting the guys together to do activities.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. We go fishing a lot together. This guy loves to fish too.
Oh, you do?
I do fish.
Excellent. You're going to have to come on the next one.
Offshore fishing.
Yeah.
Some tuna.
Oh, yeah. It's actually those trips. And I took the first few by myself. Now I bring my oldest son, who
bonding for sure.
Yeah. Who absolutely loves it. And now
I'm not too fond of him. He's got tunas. I don't.
He's listening. True.
Connor.
True. He
caught his first tuna before I ever caught
his first tuna.
Dang.
Caught his first tuna. I got some great pictures. And he really, in fact, I will tell you that this past Wednesday, when all the men were sitting there gathered together eating, he came up with his friends. And it's great because he interacts with all the men now because they know him and they interact back. It's great to see him not just interacting with other kids his age, but other adults, and not being afraid to kind of step out of his comfort level, which is tough sometimes for any 13-year-old, but to shake hands, say hi, and just, be one of the guys.
Yeah.
And I think not just those moments, but then these fishing events and these trips, you can't get away from it, right? You're stuck on a boat with a bunch of men fishing. You have to kind of learn to adapt.
Yeah.
And when you're the 13-year-old on a boat with a bunch of guys, you're kind of popular.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. He was the
I know
young.
that
I
feeling.
think he was the only kid on the boat when we went on that last trip. Yeah.
It's the best feeling.
So
Cody, one time, way back, I posted that picture, but Cody and his brother, one time, a group that I had.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time
I think
ago.
it was like El Nino, like 2016 or something.
Yeah, when I had hooked up with this a nonprofit organization, and they put together a group. And I know I can hook up with that guy again at any given moment. They put together a group of boys that otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to do something like that.
Yeah.
Because of the culture and that they come from, right? And they rented us a pontoon boat.
Went out in the lake.
Went out on a lake for what, 4 hours, something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
And we only caught one fish, but one of those boys did catch a fish.
there's something to be said about fishing. I know it seems funny. I mean, there's a lot of different events, but for men, fishing is just great. Whether it's
Patience.
offshore, whether it's and we always I always tell Connor, it's called fishing, not catching.
Yeah.
Right? There is a lot of time that goes by where nothing happens.
Especially on a lake.
Especially on a lake. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
Patience,
what
for sure.
does happen and can happen is great conversation, where you really get to know somebody, whether that's your son in depth more, have good conversation, or just somebody that you've just met.
Yeah.
I think there's an opportunity there that can't be passed. You know?
So did your once you got saved, right? And it is getting saved. And again, nobody finds Jesus. Jesus finds us. Jesus wasn't lost. When you got saved, how did your work place or your attitude, how did work change for you?
Work has been an interesting thing for me in life, just because I got into this industry kind of on the whim. Did not grow up wanting to be in the mortgage industry, and didn't care for any sort of math, finance growing up. It just wasn't on my radar at all. Went to a 1 year of community college up in Santa Barbara, kind of wasted an opportunity up there. Came back down, did the jobs here and there, wanted to be a corporate pilot, took some flying lessons. It didn't really transpire into anything. I didn't take it seriously enough. And I was young, and I was living in Orange County and just doing what any young kid in Orange County wants to do, is party, have fun, and have a good time. And it was fun. But I wasn't taking life seriously at that moment. And I just happened to have a neighbor that said, come with me one evening and to an event. And that was the beginning of my career in lending. The biggest thing for me in this, it's been 22 years now I've been doing this.
So you started like 20?
Started 21.
Yeah, you're young.
21, yeah. And young, and nobody wants to give a 21-year-old the chance to...
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah. Well, as real estate agents who I work with, they're thinking, my paycheck relies on this 21-year-old kid doing his job. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't do his job, my clients don't get the house. I don't get a paycheck. I look bad. I referred him. So for me, I was young and just not really versed in what I needed to do the right way. And it took years. I would say it took honestly 10 years to really grasp that if I wanted to make a career out of this, I needed to change something. And that was just learning responsibility and learning that I needed to return calls. I needed to return emails. I'm dealing with people's livelihood. Yeah. And that's an important thing that you don't want to let down for somebody. So I really had to learn just responsibility. And over the last couple of years, I would say the biggest challenge for me, and something that's, that's been helping get through that, is work-life balance. My job is not a 9-to-5 job. Very challenging. most of my time during the day, during the week is communicating with just, processors, underwriters, making sure my files. But my evenings, when people are home, not at work, that's when they're trying to get their financing in place for their home. Weekends, because clients are out looking at properties. My evenings and weekends can sometimes be more busy than my day time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been even more crazy this past year because now I'm doing all of it from home. And so that is something that I'm not accustomed to, because I'm usually out in the field visiting real estate agents, meeting clients at their home. I love being out, and I've been told I'm confined to almost like a desk. And so I love meeting new people, cultivating relationships, just getting to know. And that's something I've really lost. And now it's either a phone call or a Zoom, and you lose that relation, that intimacy in that phone call, that relationship, cultivating that relationship. So it's been hard. But I will say that I think church, Jesus, Wednesday nights, Saturdays has helped with the patience of learning to kind of step back and reevaluate. It's tough. There's no right answer, right? There's no right answer. And you try to find it. You're constantly searching for that. But it's just a matter of just reevaluating and taking your time and not trying to get everything done in one instance. Sometimes you just got to tap the brakes and look at things differently.
One of the things that Jesus did change for me, because I still am to an extent a workaholic, but and I'm just wondering if it had a similar effect. And it still took a few years of knowing Jesus before I finally went, look, when yes, I'm going to work all the time. Yes, there's a lot of work. Yes, there's lots to do and I'm never going to be done. But when I am with my kids and my wife, I had to be intentional about being with my kids and my wife.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering if Jesus had the same effect on you, is having the effect on a daily.
Yeah. I will say that, yes, you have to be present. There's family time and there's work time. Mm-hmm. And I am notorious for knowing everything there is to know when it comes to my work schedule, my clients, and where I drop the ball is in my personal family life. Did you remember this? No, I didn't remember that. But I could tell you everything there was to know about work, but I'm forgetting the important things, the family events, the things I have to do, the picking up this kid, whatever it is. So it's just being mindful of those things. And I think that, yes, it has helped. But again,
helped in as much as Jesus shows you what's. So we're going to take a break now for 5 minutes. We're going to come right back and talk a little bit more about this.
That sounds good. You got it.
So, you doing the commercial thing?
Yeah.
We don't have a commercial. So you just plug it in later?
Yeah. Right now, so anything you want to talk about.
I'm just looking for it. So if you have questions, ask me. I have no problem answering. If I'm even answering them, right?
Oh man,
Oh, that was great, wasn't it? I would love to say that I posted that, but it's a copy and paste. But there were, I will say this, there were a couple things on there that I wish I had added more. Like even just like things my dad always open the door for. Like just little nuggets that you want to fit in there. I wish I had changed it, but it was late at night. I was tired. But it's got a lot.
Was lost but not forgotten, redeemed by the only begotten, the Son of God, He lives in me. Oh yeah, among the sinner I am chief. travel. Well, I have come, I'm just a man, a sinner saved by grace, a soldier in this battle. Well, I will run, and though I stumble and fall, he picks me up again. And I can't see you there, but I can feel you here. So amazed that you love me, though I'm the chief of sinners. I've been declared the winner, 'cause I was blind, but now I see. Lost but not forgotten, reaching by the only begotten, the Son of God, He lives in me. Oh yeah, among the sinners I am chief. Well, I'm no better than you, that's for sure now. I've fallen short again, and I cry out for mercy with a hammer and nail in my hand. He sees everything that I do, yet he loves me. And I don't understand why yet we were sinners, he sent his only son to die. And I can't see you there, but I can feel you here. So amazed that you love me, though I'm the chief of sinners. I've been declared the winner, 'cause I was blind, but now I see. Lost but not forgotten, redeemed by the only begotten, the Son of God, He lives in me. Oh yeah, among the sinners I am chief. Among the sinners I am
Chief. Hey, so we're back. That's my guy. I gotta give a shout out and give a little recognition to my guy Richard Andrew there. That's my buddy who sings that song. Richard, if you're out there listening, I know that sometimes you are. Miss you, man. We got to get you back in here, play some songs, talk about it, because that is a crazy testimony. My boy Richard Andrew. But the story of, anyway, that's a whole nother story too about that particular song and what it meant to me. So we're back with Wes and Cody and Wes. I'm not sure how you say that, but I do know that it's not Corey and Wes. I know that. So, so we're back, and I've got some questions on. Again, we were talking. We're gonna come right back to, and I've already forgotten. I should have wrote that down. Where were we? Come on, you're the young guy.
I don't know.
What were we talking about?
We went into conversation during the break, so I think we just kind of got sidetracked there.
We're supposed to come right back to something, guys. You're not a lot of help. Right back because we were right in the middle of something that we were talking about. Nobody's sending me a message because I'm not looking at it about what it was. But if somebody can text me, I can't remember what we were talking about. I really have drawn a total blank on that.
That's okay. We'll jump into something else.
All right. So we're talking about how now that you know what Jesus' plan is. Actually, we don't know what Jesus' plan is in our life, but we can continue to move forward with Jesus and what that means to us as men, right? that means that we are supposed to be spiritual leaders for our wives. And guys, if you're not sure what that is, read Ephesians 5 and don't stop at the wife should be submissive, because that's just dumb.
It doesn't. Yeah. I will. I'm going to jump in there. I will tell you that, this last year has been challenging for everybody. I was telling Cody before that during this time of year, during school, drop off the kids at 7:30, 8 o'clock, pick them up at 2. Your wife, and I'm usually gone. So your wife, your spouse is usually home for the most part. If she's working, mine is a stay-at-home wife, mom, mother. She has time to do her things, whether that's hang out with her girlfriends, get some things done, whatever it is. She has completely lost the ability to have any time to herself. So I will say that it's important to be there for them, because they are busting their tushes to get things done around the house, be there for the kids, online schooling. That is a pressure in its own. I do say we're meant to be parents. We're not meant to be teachers. I say that lightly, parents, but we don't have the patience to be teachers. So it's been a challenge for her, because she has been there for the last year helping with my 5-year-old in kindergarten, who started kindergarten, trying to keep any 5-year-old on a Zoom class for an hour to an hour and a half is a challenge. And I challenge anybody to do that, because it's a struggle when they're at home with mom and dad at their own house, toys are around, it's not a classroom setting.
I would venture to say it's impossible.
It's impossible. It's impossible. But she has done an absolute tremendous job with what she's been able to accomplish with him. She puts a lot of pressure on herself. I wish she didn't do that, but that's just how she is.
That's how she's built.
That's just how she's built. She is there for everybody. She never says no. She never says no. Somebody needs something, she's there for them. So she is an absolute blessing to me, because she takes on so much more that I'd love to say I have the patience to do it. I don't, but that's part of being a parent. You have to do it. But she's an absolute blessing to me, to the kids, to our household. She holds down the fort. I say that. I mean, it's not me, it's her. She is amazing. She's encouraging. She's just, I love her to death. I love her to death. So I hope she knows that.
Well, maybe she knows a little bit more now too.
Yeah, she probably knows a little bit more now too, so yeah.
And that's, and just one thing that you said, that parents were not made to be teachers. Let's not forget, fellas, teachers ain't made to be parents either.
Yeah.
Right. They are not they are not the parents. I always had a saying to my kids. My kids still remember today. They actually repeat it. I used to always say there's no such thing as a bad kid. And sometimes we were talking about earlier, you have to teach your kids values. Like today, sometimes I think that today, with the way parenting is and the way that the world tells us to be, my kid came home, and I don't know, my kid came home and told me something was wrong with the teacher. I told him, no, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly believe that. I think that it starts very early, ingraining those values into your kids. And listen, every kid's going to have their challenges, right?
Of course,
they're going to have their challenges.
Every grown up.
But if you ingrain those values early on, deep down they're there. They just have to find it. They just have to kind of go in and dig for it again. I posted something the other day on social media, and we were just talking about something. I think it was values that all sons should know. And there were 30 items on there, and it really struck me. I'm not a big social media. I don't post a lot. It's just not me. I'm more like you flick through, see things, read articles. It's just not my thing. But when I saw that, it just struck, because it took me back to what my dad taught me as a kid, values that my dad, my uncle, my grandfather taught me. And so and I wish, and I had said this, I wish there were things I even added to that, because there were things, if you really go, I mean, the list it can be endless if you really think about it. This was 30. It could be, I could have written 100 things down, but I think that it just struck a chord with me. And I really am going to make sure that I'm constantly engraving those items to my kids, teaching them, making sure they grow up, young men with values, treating people right, taking care of women, taking care of their women, their wives, whatever it is. But just there's definitely, it all starts with the parents, bottom line.
And how awesome it is that we have a kid this age who's interested
Yes.
in that.
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
You don't have no idea how awesome it is for guys like us to see that.
Well, it's cool to hear too his story, because like you were saying, engraving morals and values into the kids. Just like, let's say you never became a Christian 4 years ago, you might teach your son differently.
Sure.
So I think it's super cool that, like you said, you're engraving those morals and values. You have to learn them first so you can teach them.
Absolutely.
So I think that's super cool and that's important. When you become a Christian, it's almost like you're becoming a Christian for yourself, yes, but also for others. Because when you're a Christian, you're gonna act differently. You're gonna be a lot nicer and et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's cool, like when you're saying engraving, because it could have been a lot different.
Absolutely.
If you weren't a Christian 4 years ago, or if you never were a Christian, he would be taught maybe a little different.
It's just a different path, right?
Exactly.
It's a different path you take, and it's like I said in the beginning, it's one of those reasons we decided that we needed to start going and finding.
You're doing it for you and your wife, obviously, but
right.
You knew it was going to
for
go
our
down
family.
to your kids.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I have not met a family whose kids grew up in the church that weren't good kids. I mean, yes, everybody's, like I said, everybody's got their moments, but they're all good people.
Yeah.
And I want my kids to be, and they're good. They're going to be good people. I know that deep down. I know that. And so, but I wanted to start now rather than.
Yeah. Because if you if you wouldn't have, maybe your son would have learned maybe at your age, and it could have changed his life. He's on a different path.
Yeah.
So.
And I will say that I think even if you don't grow up in the church, which I really didn't, I didn't go down a wrong path.
Yeah.
I don't think there's definitely
wrong paths.
There's wrong paths.
I've visited it.
There's wrong paths, but not growing up in the church doesn't mean you're going to go down the wrong path. I grew up in a family, very, very tight family, extended family, involved in sports as a young kid from 5 years through high school. Yeah. Parents were always there for me. My dad was my coach. My mom was the Little League president for 4 or 5 years. I grew up in the Little League field. My aunt and uncle were there at every game. The support was tremendous. I want that for my kids. I want to be there for them. Luckily enough, I'm in a business that allows me to do that. I do have those freedoms to take some time off and go to an event with him. I'm just got to get those kids involved in more sports and find something, and they'll get there. They'll get there.
When you're talking about that, I see a contrast there, in as much as, first of all, that was the exception, right?
Right.
Your life not going to church is kind of an exception, the way you grew up. I don't want to say that mine was the rule, because it wasn't.
Right.
But one of the observations I was just having in my head when I just thought about when you were saying that was that for you, there were times, I'm sure, in that life, right, that and Cody had the same type of life. His parents were always involved. I mean, shout out to freaking Tim and Melissa for sure, because they are some special people. And they were always there for their boys, always sacrificing. I mean, when you got 3 boys playing travel baseball, at the same time, it's a chaotic life.
Yeah. That's a chaotic life to and from. Yeah.
And they were there every minute of it, and it was so. And so when you're in that, sometimes, guys, because you were kind of in the same thing, it's just his had church,
right,
and yours didn't.
Right.
So there was some differences, but good people nonetheless. And then to you, that was normal. And there were times when you would take it for granted.
Sure. Oh, right? Absolutely.
And to me, my life was a chaos. I didn't have that dad. I didn't have that mom. My mom and dad were divorced at 12. Prior to that, there was things going on. I had seen my dad go to jail more than once in my life. I knew that he was fooling around on your mom, all by 12.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So the divorce and everything. But to me, the marijuana, the drinking, all of it. But to me, when I was in the middle of that, to me, that was normal.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You didn't know any different.
I didn't know any different. I didn't even know my friends weren't doing it.
Right. Right.
I didn't even understand that part of it. So it's just interesting, the contrast that yet we still all thought we took it for granted.
We took it for granted.
I even took some things for granted. I mean, I took for granted that was normal, number one.
Right.
But it's just interesting to me. I know I get off on that, but that was just an interesting contrast.
I think, like I said, I didn't grow up in the church, but
they believe in God.
I didn't believe in, and I believed in God.
They believed.
Yes. So it wasn't that it was a no for church. Like it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't that path we took.
Yeah.
But again, it wasn't a negative thing.
No, not at all.
It wasn't a negative thing.
Yeah.
Do I wish, looking back now after what I've experienced the last 4 years, that I could have experienced that? Like my kids are, of course. But that wasn't the path that my family took.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad decision.
No,
not a bad decision at all.
No.
It just we didn't take that path. But I like I said, I didn't decide to go to church with my wife and my kids because of that. That wasn't the reason. Yeah. It was discussions that me and my wife had, and we thought it would be good for our family.
Was she churched?
No, her mom used to go to church years and years ago, but no, she grew up, in a single mom household, 4 siblings.
No time for church.
No time for church. Her mom ran a daycare at the house, still running it 46, 47 years.
Wow.
Daycare. Yeah. And now she's sitting kids she used to sit. So it's, she runs a great daycare, but didn't have time for it, so no, she was not churched. So this is new for her too. So we're experiencing it together, and it's nice. I think that's kind of
Do you remember how the subject even came up?
Of going to church?
Yeah.
We had some friends of ours that attended church, and we were actually sending our daughter to South Hills Academy first. And so somebody in the office was like, you guys should come. We got to know them, and they were the ones that were asking us here and there. And yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Baby, you need to go to a church school. We don't need it. We're good.
Yeah.
But we want you to have some Jesus.
And I actually, we used to send our kids to a woman who ran a daycare or school out of her house because she had lost her job as a teacher. And wonderful woman. The kids absolutely adored her. She did school and really followed the same program and curriculum that school did, but she did it from her house. And it was 5 kids. Well, she ended up getting a teaching job. So it forced us to go find something for our daughter. And it was South Hills Academy. And I don't really know how we found that. I think my wife did the research on it. And that was kind of our introduction to South Hills. And then it just kind of blossomed from there.
Which is crazy. Like kind of back to what I said on a couple podcasts ago. And some people believe it, some people don't. Is, in my opinion, everything happens for a reason. Where if that lady would have not lost, or it would have not got her job, your daughter would have still been there and possibly not went to South Hills, and you would have never known. And
it was all positive. It was positive that she got her job.
Exactly.
It was a positive thing that she had to shut the, daycare school down at her house to go get that job so that we could find something. Yeah. And then it was positive that we were able to get her into school. They had a spot for her. So,
and that's almost like the path. Like, like God was bringing you back into, he gave you opportunities to get back on the Christian path.
Yeah.
I think that's super cool about that. But
and you go, and then it's South Hills, and then you meet the guys
and
I quite honestly, I've been to more than one church's men's. There's nothing like what we got going on, bro.
And see, I don't know any different.
Yeah.
Right? But what I do know, after being around these men for the last 1.5, 2 years, is that through all of the struggles that the world is dealing with, we always find time to get together. COVID didn't derail that.
And you started with, COVID didn't derail that.
No.
I mean, we did Zoom for a while.
Zoom for a while, but the minute we felt like we could get together in a safe way, we found that opportunity. And it has turned into other activities, whether it's, a Sunday, brunch after church, or whether it's a golf game with a couple of the guys or a fishing trip. There's always something going on. Hands down, best decision I ever made. Well, I shouldn't say I made the decision. As I said earlier, my wife made that decision. You're going to go to the men's group. So I'm going to give her the credit. But she, it's a decision that, the decision for me was to keep going. And it's been incredible. And when you talk about at the beginning growing these chapters and multiplying, if you will, different chapters, that's encouraging because seeing people ask us what we're doing on a Saturday morning or on a Wednesday night, what do you guys do? Oh, it's a Bible study for men. It's a positive thing. And I think a lot of people need to see more men getting together and just, we've said it before, men need men, which is, feels funny saying sometimes, but until you've actually experienced it, you got to experience it. And
let me give a shout out to my boy Ray Enriquez out there in LA, who started his own Men of Impact chapter.
Yeah.
He drives a train, or he's a conductor of a Metrolink train.
Wow.
And every morning he takes his route out to LA, but then he's got nothing to do for 4 or 5 hours until the route comes back. So he started his own men's group out there, and Men of Impact chapter, LA Metrolink chapter.
Up to like 5 or 6 guys now,
5 guys right
amazing.
now. And just started a few weeks ago. And
I don't think we all thought a chapter in LA would start before a local one.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's inspiring. And it just took one guy to, find somebody else. And it just, and if it's gone up to 5 or 6 guys in the last month, think about where it could go in the next 6 months to a year.
Listen, man, Men of Impact was meeting Saturday mornings for over 3 years. We never had more than 10 guys.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The last 2 years one of the biggest things that happened was I went to Wednesday night.
That is true. Yep. And in fact, as a matter of fact, I think I met you at Wednesday night.
You did.
I met you at the Wednesday night South Hills men's group, and
it may have been your first night.
It may have been. Yeah. It may have been. And I think that group started out as just strictly South Hills, and the Men of Impact group was a couple South Hill. Actually, it's men from many different churches. But what's been nice about it is over the last year and a half, 2 years, both of those groups have kind of adapted into everybody's kind of crossing over and figuring, hey, if I go to Saturday mornings, why don't I go to Wednesday or vice versa? Right. The Saturday morniges are a little tougher. Let's be honest. It's 6:30 in the morning, and it's freezing out there right now. So it is cold. In the summer, it's great, but it's cold. But you get over it. And when you're really deep in Scripture and you're reading it, you kind of forget about how cold you are, and you're in good discussion.
I always think, what I always think when it really is getting to me is I always think, you know what? I ain't hanging on a cross.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Come on. I know you got something there.
Yeah, I've been waiting to ask.
Don't wait. Shoot.
Because it's huge, because your kids my age want to know this question, your answer for this question, which is, what's one thing you know now as an adult that you wish you knew when you were a teenager, a young teen, whatever that may be? I know there's probably a lot. That's
a very tough thing to answer, because that's a very broad. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different directions that can go in. I sit back. It's always easier on this side now to say, man, I wish I had just had more direction and knew exactly what I wanted to do. I had not a clue what I wanted to do when I left high school. I don't think that was a bad thing. I just didn't really have a specific direction. I knew I wasn't going to a 4-year college. I knew I was going to go to junior college for a couple of years. I still really didn't know where that was going to take me. But I think I would say at your age, so out of high school, I would be more financially stable. And I don't mean like that. There's a lot of things I would just say, learn to save. Yeah. Learn to save
and not spend to impress or to whatever that
100%. And in the business I'm in, when I first started, there's a lot of money to be made in the mortgage business. Yeah. And it's very easy to assume that money is going to continue to be made. It's not a salary job where I'm getting the same paycheck every 2 weeks. The sky's the limit. You can make as much as you want. And if you're not saving it, there also are times in our industry that are not thriving. I count my blessings every day, because this past year, while so many people are struggling, I've had the best year in my career.
Wow. Yeah.
That doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right. But I'm like I said, I count my blessings every day that I've been able to do that. This time around, me and my wife have made plans to save much more this go around in this, this season, because it is easy to make and spend more money.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of where you're spending it. Are you spending it in the right places? Are you investing that money back in your family?
Yeah.
Where are you? What are you doing? And so, I would say to learn the responsibility of managing your finances would be my take.
Yeah.
Because I've gone through now, 22 years in the mortgage industry. I've gone through 2 or 3 cycles of up and down. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it is very bad.
Very bad.
And in the times when it was bad in previous years, I didn't have a nest egg to go back to.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And I don't want that to happen again.
On that note, for maybe some of the young guys out there right now, or somebody that is struggling, or are you hiring?
Am I hiring? The mortgage.
I'm just asking. Is there maybe there's I understand it's the right guy,
right?
And I'm not saying some knucklehead. I'm just saying there might be somebody out there listening that if you're not hiring, what would be your bit of advice that they now have, listening to you, decided that is something they're very interested in?
I have a couple of people have asked me, and I encourage you to get educated. So there's a lot of courses you can take regarding mortgage. Getting a job in the industry now is very challenging, just because it's very congested at the moment.
Concentrated.
It's just very congested. Everybody wants in. There's a lot of money to be made right now. Rates are great, but that always tails off, right? So I would get educated, but there's nothing wrong with starting at the beginning. People want to come in and be a loan officer and just start doing everything from the get-go, and that's not how it works.
Yeah.
You need to kind of maybe be a junior to another loan officer. Learn the business, make a salary and hourly in the beginning. You're not going to make a ton of money, but you're learning. And it's just like anything. You can't expect to jump into it and make a ton of money right from the get-go.
Of course not.
It's about learning your trade, and it may take a year or two, and then you go up to the next level. And maybe that's an associate, or a personal assistant.
You pay your dues.
You pay your dues. Yeah. And I think that if you do it the right way, like that, and you take that path, you will be much more successful once you get to that level. So I would encourage everybody just to really educate, go into some education. There's a lot of college courses you can do regarding finance. And I could post a lot of stuff, on the chat, regarding some schooling to go to, but that's what I would do. But, you have to know that it's not the type of, it's a solely, what's the word?
Commission only.
Commission only. It's commission only. So there's no guarantee of a paycheck. Yeah, I get my $12 an hour paycheck every 2 weeks, and that pays my medical and my, but it's strictly, it's commission. And so
you're almost like an entrepreneur, kind of.
You're
putting out risk.
And I think especially in the beginning, it's even harder. Now that I've been in the business 22 years, I've built more of a referral-based business, a clientele. I've got a lot of clients that have come back to me year over year. And I really work more off referrals now. I mean, you still got to be out there in the field and growing new relationships, because the bottom line is there's always new people coming in as real estate agents, as buyers. So you've got to be out there. But if you do it the right way, you can build a business based on referrals, and that's what you always want. But yeah, it's a great business to be in, but it's not peachy all the time. It's got its ups and downs.
Well, anything worth it is you got to work hard for, right? That's
pay your dues.
Cody said that.
It sounds like an entrepreneur to me. You're risking. You can make as much money as you want, but you're risking the fact that you might make zero or minimum.
You can work hard for a year straight, make a lot of money, and decide I want to take a year off and travel the world.
Yeah.
You can do that. And then you're going to come back and you're going to have to build it back up for another 2 months to get to, it's just how it works. So if you've got a team behind you, that's the next step, is then you start building a team, and it just grows from there. Right. So it's an entrepreneurship essentially. I own my own paycheck.
Yeah, you do.
I own my paycheck.
And if you do it that way, the way that you're talking about, right. Slowly, hopefully you can, what that helps you with is learning what you were talking about, saving, not spending, because if all of a sudden you're out there and you have, let's just say, you walk in and it's that lucky time or that big time, and you're all of a sudden you're big time in it in that first year. chances.
It's
Yeah.
very easy to have those things pulling at you. Oh, let's do this. Let's buy this nice car. Let's take these vacations. Let's buy this, this what. It's very easy to do those things rather than just step back and say, do I really need them?
Yeah.
Do I really need them?
How much do I really need?
I've said this before, and I think if I even said it to you, I think it's funny sometimes. There's been months where me and my wife have been struggling, and you do what you need to do to get by till that next paycheck. Why don't I live like that every
day.
single day? I don't know why. And it's because it's not fun, right?
Yeah.
It's not fun. That's the simple answer. It's not fun. But
that's one of the things we talked about. Me and Cody talked about when he was a guest. Is that's what he's and again, that's what he's decided. Fun comes later.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's still having fun. He just got back from Hawaii for 2 weeks, for Pete's sake. Yeah. But he's still having fun. But it is at a reserved. In other words, I'm going to save. I'm going to do one big thing.
Yeah. Which he kind of he solidified my thinking of. That's why I was asking him is he wishes he saved more and spent less, and that's what I'm trying to do. So
you're on the right path.
Yeah,
you're on the right path. Yeah. And I think anybody who is involved with the church, if you have an opportunity, go take financial university. Take a course through finance that's going to teach you.
Dave Ramsey.
Piece. We did it, and it's challenging. It is not easy.
Yeah.
It is not easy.
Have you taken that course?
No.
Oh,
look into it.
Yeah.
Change your life.
It will physically change your life. It will. It's good, but you have to practice it, right?
Yeah.
You can't just take the course. And I will right here say it. We don't always practice it. I mean, we at times do. There's certain things that we do, but I think if you do every little step that he offers and preaches, that you will grow into financial freedom. And I think that's the goal in the long run.
Yeah.
And if you do it at a young age, you'll be done.
I did it when I was 42 years old. Right. And at that point, listen, we're still learning.
Oh yeah.
We're always learning. And so
that's a cool part though.
Yeah, it is. And by no means am I a great saver? Absolutely not. It's just about learning and having somebody there alongside you that can tell you when you're doing right or wrong or vice versa, and having accountability.
Okay, guys, we're down to seconds. So everybody give a shout out.
Yes.
Any shout outs?
Shout outs. I mean, I said I'm in lending. If anybody's looking for a home loan, refinance, purchase a house, I'd love to reach out. Caliber Home Loans, Wes Weingarten. I'll put my information up on the podcast so you guys have it. But I love working with buyers and homeowners. Yep.
What was it again? Caliber
Home Loans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just shout out to my family.
There you go. Family. Yeah. Can't forget the family.
Yeah. Shout out to the wife and the kids and everybody else out there. Yeah. Listen, guys, get out there. One guy, start your chapter. Get a friend. Have some Bible study. Let's go. menofimpact@gmail.com. Men of Impact on Facebook. www.menofimpact.com with a K. It's wonderful. We love you guys, and Jesus loves you more.
Amen.
Amen.
You. I've been declared the winner, 'cause I was the light.